Welcome to Writers Roadtrip, where I'll take you on my journey as a writer, the ups and downs and everything in between. So if you're ready to dive into the magic and the stories, hit that subscribe button and let's go on this journey together. Today I'd like to talk about world building. Whether you're writing a fantasy that's set in a magical realm or an everyday romance set in the modern day, world building is important. It immerses the reader in your story, helps them feel what your characters are feeling, helps them feel a part of your story. Think of world building as a machine with many moving parts: sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. Picture an explosion. What do you hear? What do you see? What do you feel? Is it hot? Can you feel the heat coming from it? What does it smell like? Can you feel the ash hitting your skin as it falls from the sky? All these things immerse your reader into the story. I don't believe there's any one way to develop your world building. What I did with my book was I did a lot of research, and I went online and I searched for mythical creatures because I knew that I wanted my book based in a fantasy mystical realm. So I wanted to include creatures. So I went online and I just started looking up different mythical creatures. And that is how I came up with the idea for a Wendigo to be one of the creatures in my book. And I actually ended up basing my whole book on the setting is based on the northern slopes of Montana, which is where the legend of the Wendigo is from. So I looked up, all the lore about the Wendigo, and that's how I got that creature for my book. So I looked up other mythical creatures. I also looked up different ideas, what I pictured in my head for my world to look like, and then that helped me to have a visual picture of what that world was like, so that when I did my descriptions for my book, I had an idea of what I was describing. If you're writing a book that is set in the real world, you can look up pictures online of cities. Say your book is set in a city, in a penthouse or a condo. You can look up pictures of those, and that will help you to describe what those things look like. And you can just put in there, the different smells, feel, tastes. If you're in a diner, say one of your scenes is in a diner, an old greasy spoon diner. When you first walk into that kind of diner, you smell things like onions frying. And say your character doesn't like onions, you can describe that in your book that your character's not real happy with the smell of onions in that setting. You can also have different smells like bacon. A lot of people can associate with that. Many people love the smell of cooking bacon. So that's going to immerse them right into your story, because they're just going to think about that bacon cooking. And a coffee shop, when you walk into a coffee shop, what are the different smells in a coffee shop? You smell coffee, obviously, but there's also different smells like vanilla, chocolate from hot chocolate, caramel from caramel coffee, and that as well immerses the reader into that world, because they can just picture that smell. They can almost smell it. So those are just different ways of coming up with world building ideas. I find when I read books, what I really enjoy and what really immerses me in the story of the book is when they talk about food. And I think that's a really good way to immerse people into the story. Just talking about a pizza that has been delivered, and when you open the box and the steam wafts up and the smell comes out, and just when you take that first slice of pizza and bite into it, almost burn your mouth as the melted cheese strings. So just things like that really help in world building too. I read a book that was based in a bakery, and just the different sights and smells and tastes that are involved in a bakery. And I read a book based in New Orleans, and they talk a lot about beignets and the sugar on the beignet and just how good they taste. So I think food can really immerse the reader into your world as well. So even if you're out in the country and it's an old country setting, and you walk into an old farmhouse and just you smell the chicken soup cooking, and then just eating the chicken soup with a nice warm piece of bread right out of the oven. And also there are other areas in the country that help with world building as well. Say you're on a farm. There's a lot of different smells on the farm, not just, the manure from the cows or the horses, but there's the smell of the hay. There's also the sounds. There's nothing better than listening to a horse munch hay or munch their feed. So there's so many different ways of world building. Another way that you can build your world is by thinking of the structure of the government of that world. That's another world building technique. What kind of government is it? Is it a democracy? Is it a monarchy? Are there kings, queens, princes, princesses? That helps to develop the world as well, knowing what kind of structure that government has. The police and the regulators of that world. Who are the regulators, and what do they regulate, and what are the rules? That's another good world building technique. Something else to consider in your world building is the dialect. How do they speak in your world? Do they speak crisp, fast, sharp? Are they soft-spoken? Do the words just roll off their tongue? That says a lot about the area of where they're from. And you can even travel to different areas in your book, and the dialect would be completely different. How do they pronounce words? Maybe they pronounce words in a different way in different areas. Maybe somebody speaks very formally, and maybe somebody else speaks more natural. Dialect is another way of world building. So that'll immerse your reader as well, when they really get, so they know like who is speaking when they're speaking because of the dialect, and that will also clue them in as to where your character is at a certain point in time because of how the people are speaking in that area. Well, that's all I have on world building. If you have any questions or ideas, leave me a comment. If you like my content, give me a thumbs up. If you want to be notified when I drop a new episode, ring that bell. And just remember, it's all about the journey. Keep on writing. Bye for now.